Another Chicago man has just filed a new lawsuit today blaming the city and former police detectives for his wrongful imprisonment.
Now, over the years, the city has paid out hundreds of millions of dollars in wrongful conviction cases. But NBC5 Investigates found that number has spiked recently. And in some cases, the city has paid more in legal fees than the wrongful conviction payout. Patrick Fazio reports.
It was very emotional. Just happy that I was home.
Frankie Benitez just celebrated Thanksgiving with his family for the first time since the 1980s.
I mean, I never thought that I would get this chance. It's been hard.
He's trying to rebuild his life after serving 34 years in prison for a double murder he didn't commit.
This is horrible to do to people. I mean, now I have no kids because I spent all those years in prison. And I don't know if I'll ever have kids.
Just this month, a judge granted Benitez a certificate of innocence for being wrongly imprisoned since he was 18 years old.
Trying to catch up to everything that I missed. I know I'll never get that time back.
Now, his attorney is filing a civil lawsuit against the city of Chicago and the former police officers accused of framing Benitez.
And we've now seen this far too often in the Chicago Police Department, where they either convince themselves that this is the person who committed the crime, or they simply decide, I'm just going to close my case.
We asked the Chicago Police Department about this lawsuit, but CPD tells us it doesn't comment on pending litigation.
How many more people are still sitting in prison for crimes they didn't commit? We know there are hundreds of people who have filed petitions in court and are trying to prove their innocence.
NBC5 Investigates has found that 58 innocent people have received compensation for their wrongful convictions in Chicago over the past 13 years, according to court records. These exonerations have cost Chicago taxpayers nearly $300 million in compensation. And those payouts have increased dramatically in the past 2 years, when taxpayers spent, on average, nearly $61 million each year to pay for those wrongful convictions.
Sometimes these cases resulted as much as a $2 million a year judgment. So his case could cost the taxpayers of the city of Chicago over $50 million possibly if it goes to trial. Frankie Benitez would settle for far, far less than that, because he wants this to be over.
It doesn't fit the evidence at all.
Instead, these exoneration cases often drag on for years, and that's not the only cost to taxpayers.
A typical wrongful conviction case, to go from the day we file the lawsuit to the day of trial, will cost the city of Chicago around $5 million per case, just in paying its own defense lawyers to defend the case. So
$5 million.
That's correct.
He's not just talking about the city's own attorneys. Even though we already paid the salaries for more than 200 city lawyers, NBC5 Investigates found Chicago has paid more than $51 million in additional taxpayer money to outside law firms to help defend the city in most of these 58 wrongful conviction cases, according to payment records we obtained.
I mean, there has to be some kind of justice.
The 53-year-old Benitez hopes the city settles his case quickly so he can find his own place to live, especially since he can't find full-time work.
I don't have the resources right now. I mean, it's hard, you know, living with family. I love them to death, and, you know, they're there for me, but, you know, I want to do things for, you know, that I'm supposed to be doing.
It's the honor to be able to represent clients like you who teach us what it means
Patrick Fazio,
to be strong.
NBC5 Investigates.
That's what.
Now, we asked the city's law department why it spends so much extra money on expensive outside counsel to fight these wrongful conviction lawsuits. It would not give us details, but tells us it analyzes each lawsuit on a case-by-case basis.